If you're going to follow OMAD or 1 meal a day, it's crucial that you're breaking your fast with the most nutrient-dense foods. Otherwise, it's super easy to lose muscle mass and gain weight, making it even harder to achieve your weight loss goal in the future. Today, I'm sharing 5 of the best foods to eat with an OMAD fasting schedule. My name's Autumn. I'm a certified clinical nutritionist with my master's in nutrition human performance. I talk a lot about intermittent fasting and how to use it to achieve your weight loss goals. So if you're new here, make sure you subscribe. Now, it's important to know I personally follow a 16-hour daily fast. I've found this to be the most sustainable and have the most long-term benefits, especially for my community members like Guylaine and Ron and Carola. But I also know that there are those who thrive with a 1 meal a day approach, and it can be done. It just needs to be done right. Now, when figuring out what you need to have in your 1 meal a day, the first place your mind should go is protein. Most of the people I work with who follow an OMAD approach typically have anywhere between an 80 to 120 gram per day protein need. So first, figuring out exactly how much protein you need to pack into that 1 meal a day is crucial for preventing muscle loss and making sure that you can maintain the weight loss progress that you're achieving with OMAD. Not getting enough protein can lead to muscle loss. It can lead to increased insulin resistance. It could even lead to bone loss. So all of these are things you don't want down the line. So hitting your individual needs is crucial. As a side note, I do have a video on how you can calculate your protein needs. I'll have that linked right up here. But this is why the very first food that I recommend on a 1 meal a day approach is ground beef. I prefer ground beef as an option for a 1 meal a day approach because it is very nutrient dense. It's really rich in selenium and zinc and choline, iron, and the whole spectrum of B vitamins, but it's also really rich in protein. It's one of the less expensive cuts, which is nice, but when you get like the 85-15 option, it's also going to be a little bit more rich in those heart-healthy monounsaturated fats than like the more lean 93.7 ground beef. But almost more importantly, especially when it comes to OMAD, ground beef is really easy to cook and really easy to chew because you are going to need to be eating a lot of it at that 1 meal. So let's just give that 80 grams of complete protein as the example. You'll need about 11 to 12 ounces of cooked ground beef to hit that 80 grams. For most people, because it is already ground, it's already essentially helped with the chewing process. So it's a lot easier to actually eat that entire 11 to 12 ounces of cooked ground beef than maybe a steak. And in terms of making it a complete meal, this is just a side note, but I would really recommend only sticking to cooked vegetables, especially the non-starchy options, so that's more nutrient dense. But cooking helps to make it a lot easier to digest. And with 1 meal a day, one of the biggest barriers you'll come across is actually fitting all that food you need in 1 meal. Pairing any of the proteins you have with cooked vegetables is one really easy way to do that. Okay, the second really great food that you could be incorporating with your 1 meal a day is whey protein powder. Now, obviously, I'm a big fan of whey isolate protein powder. I have my own zero sugar brand, but the reason why I love it so much, especially with 1 meal a day, is that it's one of the most digestible proteins, and it has a really high DIAS score, which is a measure of protein quality. Whey isolate also has the lowest lactose content compared to other whey proteins, making it a much better option for those who are lactose intolerant. It also contains 2 peptides to help enhance the immune system, alpha-lactalbumin and beta-lactoglobulin, and there are other amazing study benefits. I'll have that video linked down in the description below if you're curious. But specifically for OMAD, this is one of the easiest ways to help get your complete protein up without having to eat a lot of food. So let's say you couldn't sit down and eat 11 to 12 ounces of ground beef. You can bring that down to 6 ounces and supplement the rest with the whey protein powder. So it's a really handy, convenient way to boost the protein content of the meal without having to eat a lot of food. And if you want to check out my zero sugar, pasture raised, 100% whey isolate protein powder, you can check it out at autumnlnutrition.com/shop. Also have it linked down in the description below. Okay, the third really amazing food that you can have with 1 meal a day is cottage cheese or Skyr. I'm putting this into one category because they have kind of like a similar benefit. Both are really rich in protein. I usually love Greek yogurt, but Skyr is even more rich in protein, and they both don't require you to cook them. So if time is an issue for you, using cottage cheese or Skyr to boost your protein content is really easy. So to get to that 80 grams of complete protein purely from Skyr or purely from cottage cheese, you would need about 3.5 cups of cottage cheese or about 3 cups of Skyr. And that's for the entire 80 grams worth of protein. Or you could drop this down to about 2.5 or 2 cups of cottage cheese or Skyr and stir in some protein powder. And then to make it a complete meal, adding on low sugar berries like raspberries or blackberries or strawberries, as well as some nuts or nut butter. Which, if you guys are liking this video so far, it would mean the world to me if you gave this video a thumbs up. It's a free way to support the channel, and it really does go a long way. Thank you so much, and back to the video. Okay, the fourth option is for my plant-based peeps, and that's Tempeh or plant-based protein powder. And I know I say Tempeh wrong It's tempeh. I just grew up saying it tempeh, a habit I probably won't break. Now, both tempeh and plant-based protein powders are very lean sources of protein. So unlike the Greek yogurt or the ground beef, you need to actively make sure you're adding in some type of high quality fat when using the tempeh. Now, to hit that 80 grams of protein from tempeh, you're going to need about 14 ounces of tempeh. And if you're using a plant-based protein powder in, like, let's say a smoothie that has other sources of fat and fiber in there, then depending on the brand, you'll need about 3 full servings, which could be anywhere between 3 to 6 scoops. But take this with a grain of salt because both tempeh and plant-based protein powders actually have a pretty low DIAS score. Tempeh has a better one than plant-based protein powders, which means that the body doesn't absorb as much of the protein as what it says on the nutrition facts label. So you'll actually probably need more like 16 to 17 ounces of tempeh and about 3.5 to 4 servings of a plant-based protein powder. Okay, the fifth food is fatty fish. So just like ground beef, fatty fish like tuna or salmon are really great sources of both protein and fat, and obviously the whole spectrum of various nutrients. Fatty fish will generally be more nutrient dense than just the white fish that's more lean. So if using a 1 meal a day approach, I generally recommend a fatty fish to better maximize on nutrient quality. Now, to get that example of 80 grams of complete protein at 1 meal, you need about 11 to 12 ounces of cooked salmon. This would be a great source of B vitamins, selenium, omega-3 fats, vitamin D, vitamin E. You could even use sardines or anchovies, which have a lot of the similar benefits as salmon, and you can tend to find them pre-cooked, making them a really easy protein source. And depending on the size of the can or jar, you'd need about 3.5 to 4 cans of sardines or anchovies to hit that 80 grams of protein. Now, one notable item that I did leave off the list that I typically love to include because it is a high quality source of protein and very nutrient dense is eggs. I love eggs. It's a great protein source, a high quality fat source, really rich in nutrients. But to get 80 grams worth of protein from eggs at that 1 meal, you would need to eat about 14 eggs, which is possible, but I've not really met too many people who could sit down to a plate of 14 eggs. Most people tap out at like 3 to 5 eggs, which that is only about 18 to 30 grams of protein. Because eggs are also really rich in fat, it makes it very satiating, which is great, but with 1 meal a day, you're likely already getting so satiated from your food that the eggs can actually hinder your progress by not allowing you to get enough protein. Now, if you want to supplement it in and have a couple of eggs along with your other sources of protein that are more protein dense, obviously that's totally fine, but you probably can't sit down to a meal of just eggs and get all of your protein needs. But if you are going to do that, you probably do have to pair your eggs with other protein sources, and I actually have a video that teaches you exactly how to do that. You can check that out right here. Also, if you're new to my channel and you love this science-backed information, make sure you subscribe right here. Come out new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in my next video.